Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of History on Cue. This is officially episode number 1 of season 2. If you missed out on season 1, all you have to do is go to our YouTube channel and check out all of the past visitations. Or what you can do is you can go to qlearns.org/history on Cue. It'll take you to a map of exactly this right here so that you can see all the amazing different places that we have been. We've traveled to over 15 virtual places that you can go to with you and your students and anybody else in your surrounding area. So these are phenomenal opportunities for you to see the parks that are amazing and near you that you know and love, or maybe not know. And that's why we have these episodes, so you know the amazing state parks that are around you. And if we're speaking about state parks, I have to bring on Scott, because Scott is from Ports and he knows everything there is to know about the state park. Scott, welcome. Welcome.
I don't know if I can say I know everything there is to know about the California state parks, but thank you, Joe, for having me.
You got it. It's fun. I'm glad we can kick off season 2 right here in February, leading into Spring Q. And Scott, correct me if I'm wrong, but you and the Ports team are going to be at Spring Q, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, we're going to be doing one of our Passports symposiums at Spring Q this year. And Passports is a project that we've been working on in partnership with Q for almost 2 years now. It's an amazing project where we've been able to connect students both virtually and in person with California State Park. So at Spring Q this year, we're going to be taking up to 30 teachers up the Palm Springs Tramway into Mount San Jacinto State Park. We're going to be going out for a hike on the Desert View Trail, and then getting together for a little tea time in the lodge up at the top of the tram. So it's a pretty amazing spot. Have you ever been to the Palm Springs Tramway before, Joe?
You know, I haven't. I've driven past it many times, but I've never had the time to actually go up there. So I love the fact that part of your session is, carving out that time to take the teachers over there and to get them up there. I mean, I think that's great, because a lot of teachers would be like, I just don't have time to do it. Now you're creating that time to do it with the guide, right?
Absolutely. And I mean, I think there's always value in taking time for outdoor learning, and at that program, we'll have the chance to go up over 4,000 feet into the mountains from the desert floor to really experience a drastic difference in the environments, that California state parks have to offer. And on the second day, we're going to be getting together to design new instructional resources that'll be available for teachers. And there are resources available right now on our website, on the Passports website, that have come out of experiences like this. So we're really looking forward to Spring Q this year, really looking forward to connecting with you guys.
Excellent. We're excited as well. Ports always brings it when we're at Spring Q, and we're face to face for the first time in 3 years. And it's just going to be a grand celebration of everybody being back together. And there's no better way to celebrate than with Q and Ports together at the same conference. So it's fantastic. Now, Scott, we have a special guest with us today. So will you introduce our special guest? And when our special guest gets here, let's let everybody know where we are virtually traveling today.
Awesome. So our special guest today is one of our California State Park interpreters. So those are our educators or our experts from around California State Park. And I'm happy to say that Steve Yahelka is one of our most incredible interpreters from across the state of California. And he's joining us from Hendy Woods State Park. So Steve, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, guys. This is so cool. And yeah, out here at Hendy Woods State Park, actually sitting in my my literal backyard here, and it's really cool to to be able to share places with like Hendy Woods State Park with visitors all over California, all over the country. Really, we get to connect with lots and lots of students all over the world, and it's all possible through this program. So very excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
The viewers are wondering where you're at right now, and I want everybody to know, before we started, Steve was in his office and we were going to do it from there, and then Scott's like, hey, can you just step outside your door and do it from there? Steve, this is outside your front door, this gorgeous scene behind you. That's not a green screen. It's a green scene. right? But it's not a green screen. This is your lawn, I guess you'd say. This is your front yard.
Yeah, this is a nice little fairy ring of old, redwoods, second growth right here. But I literally am 20 feet away from my house right now. You know, if I needed to top off my coffee, I could go and do that real quick. So, yeah, I mean, living in the parks, I've lived out here in Hendy Woods for coming up on 7 years now, and it's really coming up in the world as far as being a park that is getting its name out there and starting to be recognized as kind of I think the secret's getting out, I guess.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And could you let our listeners know where Hendy Woods is located? Like, California is a big, giant state. So whereabouts in the state is Hendy Woods located?
So we are Hendy Woods State Park is part of the Sonoma-Mendocino Coast District, but we are in the Mendocino sector. I know that sounds like that's a lot of parks jargon, but we're located off the Highway 128, pretty much in between Cloverdale and Mendocino. If you were to go along 128, you pass through some wine country, and then you get into or you're getting close to like the Navarro River Redwoods. But before you get there, it's a small town called Philo, population maybe 500. And then Hendy Woods is just off 128 on Greenwood Road. We got a windy road to get here, but it's really worth the trip because you go through so many beautiful sceneries just to get to the park here. And if you're willing to make the trek on those windy roads, you're gonna see some amazing old growth forests. Right along the Navarro River, as you're showing there, we got camping, 92 campsites, which includes 4 cabins like the one you're seeing there.
Wow.
And they're really well. It gets busy in the summertime. We are already looking at like a busy summer season, which typically books out as early in like January. People are making reservations 6 months in advance, but that's the hermit hut that you see in there. Kind of a strange little piece of history there. A kind of a character who had lived out in Hendy Woods is the Hendy Woods hermit, Petrov Zelyanka, and he lived off the land in this hollowed, burnt out stump that he planked, all this scratch and slash from the early logging that he kind of built up this little hut there. And it's really cool. And, that's actually very spacious in there. I can stand all the way up in there. And I can fit, I've fit like junior ranger programs in there with probably like 15 kids all fitting in that structure right there. It's a lot more spacious than it seems in that photo.
Now, is that a campsite people can actually go to and stay in at the park?
No, not officially. No. The thing is, a lot of people have been like, well, I think I want to go. Can we rent out the hermit hut? And no, that is actually, that structure right there was like built in probably the 60s or 70s and maintained, and it's kind of, it hasn't been maintained since then. We kind of go in there and help support it a little bit more, as it is built of like all these widowmakers and slash from, it's in its prime, it looked a lot bigger as this guy lived off the land for like 18 years, and kind of a local legend, but true little quirky story as far as park history goes.
And that's absolutely amazing. That somebody was like, I'm just gonna live here. Like, you know what? I like this place. I'm gonna build my hut right here on this stump, and it's lasted for this many years, and people want to stay there, but
yeah.
Listen to what you're saying. It's probably not safe with all the rickety. You might wake up to something. So
yeah.
So I mean, looking at these amazing images, I mean, these are places that I've never been to, and I'll tell you, I've never heard of Hendy Woods State Park before. So seeing all this, whenever I do one of these episodes, it's like I want to go there. I want to go there. Can you tell us a little bit about besides the Hermit, a little bit about the history of the park? And some of the like the key features when people go to Hendy Woods, what are some key features that are like the must see sites from your state park?
Absolutely. So, in Hendy Woods is a Redwood park, a little bit lesser known Redwood park, but we have over 100 acres of old growth redwood forest to actually explore and check out. We have about a mile and a half of accessible trail. It's a full ADA accessible trail system that's pretty new. It was finished in 2019. So it's a really accessible redwood grove. You're standing at the foot of trees that are well over 1,000 years. Some of them like 1,500 years old, and we got trees that are 352 feet tall in the park. We have so much to explore out here. We do also have like the Navarro River, which in the summertime is just prime for swimming. Right at the park entrance there is a bridge that you can kind of hike down below the bridge, and right under that bridge you get areas where you can do some rock jumping, splash around and cool down. Because, in the summertime, it does get to be maybe like 95 degrees, which for me is like blazing hot. I'm used to like 70-degree weather, but it's really nice to be able to do that. We provide lots of summertime programming, which are junior rangers, guided hikes. We're going to be seeing back stargazing programs come in this summer as well, like campfire programs. My campfire program is very musical. I like, we sit maybe 150 people in this amphitheater, and it's known to get a little bit rowdy, but it's a good time. I make sure, like people sometimes show up and they're like, well, I don't know, it's a kind of sing-along thing that's like a little bit quirky, but I can guarantee you by the end of that program, you are going to be singing along and you're going to be happy about it. Like, and I mean, those programs are like nostalgic for those who had ever been to one as a kid, and then for some of these kids who are going to their first campfire program are, like getting to know the old Clementine, and Oh Susanna and all these different classics that they should definitely know. And by the end of it, they're part of this whole group. I think one thing that always brings it back at the end of every campfire program, we do country roads, and I have the audience sing the last chorus by themselves without my help. And it just gives me chills every week. It almost brings a tear to my eye because they're like, yeah, at the beginning of this program, nobody was singing. And now everybody in the amphitheater is singing. And it's like, whew. Yeah. But it's like so humbling, such a great place to have kind of built my my interpretive career here. And we're seeing a lot more expansions in this, with distance learning and kind of integrating that with, also in-park field trips that we're seeing book up. And now again with the Adventure Pass that we'll kind of touch on here in a moment.
Yeah, I definitely want to bring up the Adventure Pass and the different ports activities that are on the Hendy Woods page. But I really would like you to talk, just if you can expand a little bit more on the stargazing, because the other night, my daughter, a 5-year-old daughter, she looks up at the sky and she goes, "Dad, look at all the stars." There was like 5 stars up there. I go, Sissy, you know that there are places in this world where, because there's no light pollution, you look up and it is full of stars. She goes, "Wow, where can we go to do that?" I go, "Daddy has some friends. There's some places we can go." Right. And so now, a lot of students, they come from the city areas, right? Whether it's Sacramento or San Francisco, San Jose, a lot of these places, they have that just light pollution. They don't get to experience the sky like our ancestors did. So, can you talk a little bit about that stargazing program, and maybe, if you've seen some students look up and go, wow, I didn't know that there are that many stars in the sky.
Oh yeah, I mean, so yes, we are pretty far off the beaten path here. So we have, I think the closest city that we have is Ukiah, and that's like, probably 30 miles as the crow flies, but we do see just a little bit of light. You can actually see Ukiah from here, which is kind of interesting. It's over a mountain chain. That's the only light pollution that we have. Everything else is just like, yeah, you go out there. We have a big open meadow that's right next to Big Hendy Grove. So you're sitting there, towering redwoods on the side here, the Navarro River on the other, and just 360 view, 360 degree view of the open night sky. And like a lot of the time during summertime, we get to see multiple planets, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and all these different planets. You get to learn about the planets, or what we're seeing at the time. And then you'll learn some of the constellations that you should know, and kind of how you can. I also do a little bit of a lesson on how to find the North Star. Find it through, and kind of getting yourself oriented in using the night sky. But yeah, you see so much more in the night sky here than you ever would in any city. And like, I've had people be like, okay, what star is that? And like, no, that's not a star, that's Jupiter there. And then like to set up a telescope and have like a little milk crates there so that they can get up tall enough to put their eye up to the eyepiece, and then they see, the bands in Jupiter and the moons of Jupiter, and you kind of explain this. So that is, a very, that's a gas giant planet, and you can actually see 4 of its 60 something moons, through the telescope, and they're just like, and you just see their face drop, or they're just like, and seeing I've also had this, you give the kids the experience or the chance to see those planets through a telescope for the very first time, but I've also had the same experience with somebody who is like 60 something years old and seeing a planet through the telescope for the first time. So it's like these programs are for everybody, and yeah, it really is something that always reminds me is like how meaningful, how powerful sharing these natural spaces, these natural public spaces with visitors is. It's just, you get a chance to really impress them and wow them, get that, inspire them. It's like
it's amazing. I mean, like, you're in such an incredible place to bring just such magic into people's lives, just through, inspiring them to connect with the world around them. And what an awesome, position to be in. And like, there are so many California State Park interpreters that I'm sure would have similar magical moments to share about like those opportunities of like experiencing a park for the first time, whether you're a child or an adult. And, you mentioned this, Joe, this whole conversation started with like, tell us a little bit about the history of this park. And we're obviously hearing about like the natural history of these parks, like the trees being over thousands of years old, and not just that, but like, it sounds like you're making memories every single day, whether students are connecting with you virtually or in person, and that's making history all the time. So that's
yeah,
awesome.
You just reminded me. I got totally sidetracked when you talked about history. I think we're living in history, right now. I mean, you can definitely talk about how these these redwood groves were saved from the thaw, and from the first owner, Joshua P. Hendy, or the first person who owned this land as Joshua P. Hendy, but he set aside a little bit of the, a kind of the Big Hendy and Little Hendy Groves, but after he passed it on to his nephews, it actually was passed to these different logging companies, and they were always trying to, hey, let's get rid of, let's cut down those redwoods. But it was actually the local Unity Club, this just like we hear so much about in in Humboldt and the history of those parks being protected. It was like these gardening clubs, and for here it was the Anderson Valley Unity Club, who petitioned the state, like, hey, we need to save this property, and is standing up for what needs to be protected, and it led into let's petition the state to purchase this property. And our Hendy Woods is a pretty young park when you talk about relative to other parks. I think property was purchased in 1958 and established as Hendy Woods State Park in 1963. But
wow.
yeah, you have it's lots of history, but a lot of the time you kind of get to really experience people changing their perspective on nature, really.
And I love this because a lot of times we march forward through history, right? Making history, march forward, thinking about how can we advance through technology, but we forget how we can commune via nature, right? And so I think what you're talking about when you see all these people come to the park, they've heard of planets. They think they've seen the planet because they've seen them on the computer or they've seen them on TV, but to see it happening through their own eye in nature is mind-boggling to them. Like, oh, it's actually real, right? It's not just ones and zeros. So I think getting students to the park is absolutely key, and there is opportunities for that, correct?
Absolutely.
There's opportunities to bring people to the park. So everybody here on the screen, what I have here from the Port's homepage is Hendy Woods State Park page. And you can come here and see all the different resources for the park. But there is a button here that says, do you want to do an in-person field trip to the park? Click here. And what that'll do is it'll take you to how you can book an in-person field trip. So Scott or Steve, could you talk about how teachers can bring their class and how many people they can bring and what experiences they would have on this in-person field trip?
Yeah, so this is a really cool thing. We were able to set this up as a forward-facing calendar that you can actually just look at what days and what times are available for your students. You can actually scroll down inside that little window, but so there you have all the I set up every Thursday and Friday. You can book a program either starting at 9 or 1. Of course, there is wiggle room to change that if you don't think you can get there in time. We are off the beaten path, like I said, but we're really trying to expand and get more schools to visit from our local our local counties, whether it's Sonoma, Lake, or Mendocino County. If you're out here, you should definitely come by. The program, you just click at one of those times, and then all of a sudden it brings up all the information that we need in order to do it. We don't have a whole lot of parking, but we definitely can work around typically one bus load. We've been kind of trying to figure out ways to expand it to 2 buses, but if you have any questions, or if you put in a request, we will definitely work with you to make this happen. It's an amazing program. We do guided redwood hikes through Big Hendy Grove, and we also incorporate a kind of a self-exploration in nature journaling, which is proven, time and time again to kind of build scientific observation skills as well. It's it's kid proven. Kids love doing it. It's like, hey, and you don't have to be an amazing artist to do it. It actually trains you to be a better artist as you like make these observations, and helps you discover a lot more than you might just listening to a guided hike or something like that, you know. And we also, you know, with passports, we also encourage you to connect with us virtually first, so you guys will know, so the students will know what they're getting into, you know, what to bring, and how to be prepared for these amazing field trips experiences. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I brought up the page. So on the Hendy website, there's a opportunity for you to click on the resources to do kind of pre-work, but with your student before going up there, and it's all within Google Drive, and all of these resources are there for the teachers to use and work through, and slide decks. But Hendy is also part of a special program State Parks has called the Adventure Pass. So could you, Scott, could you tell us a little bit about what this Adventure Pass is and what it's all about?
Absolutely. And just to build off of what Steve was just saying before, you know, like Steve, you're mentioning nature journaling, you're mentioning observations out in the field. Like really when you're connecting students with the California State Park, it's all about that student-centered experience, that opportunity to engage in like a one-on-one relationship with a person in a place. And Steve is amazing at doing that, both virtually and in person, like he was saying, through passports. But the Adventure Pass is this entirely new program that's coming out through California State Parks that gives all California fourth graders a free California State Park pass to 19 different California State Parks across the state. And Hendy Woods is one of those. It would make an incredible road trip to travel to all of these different California State Parks. So you can click on those 19 different state parks right there where it says who, Joe. And that'll come up with a list. But it looks like, Joe, you and I are going to be traveling virtually to every single California State Park, everyone that we can manage on this list, to really get an opportunity to engage with and experience what that park is. And this summer, California fourth graders, get out there with your families, come visit some California State Parks, free day use passes and opportunities to connect with folks like Steve and places like Hendy Woods.
Absolutely amazing. I love what California State Parks is doing. I love what Ports is doing to bring the parks into the classroom, and then the classroom into the parks. Steve, I absolutely love your job. You get to live in a state park with the trees, in communing with nature. Absolutely amazing. You get to work with students and adults alike, and show them awe and wonder. So Steve, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your love of Hendy Woods, and just all the different history and activities and sightseeing options that they can see there. So before we go, if you were to have a 1 minute or less elevator pitch to somebody deciding to go to your park or another park, what would be your pitch to get them to come to your park? Right? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I am. All right. So a 1 minute pitch. Go.
Well, Hendy Woods has just about everything you could possibly want. We got swimming, we got camping, we got hiking, we got some of the tallest, amazing species of trees, the coast redwoods. You get to experience these, right next to a big open sky with stargazing programs. You can go to a campfire, sing along with yours truly, and learn some of those time-old classics that now have long been part of the camping tradition. Roast yourself a marshmallow, have yourself a good time while under the towering redwoods. I don't know.
That was incredible, Steve. That's incredible.
Can I do it again? I don't know. I think I can get it better next time.
I think you have your pitch man here for the Ports program. I think that's a radio spot right there. We should purchase some airtime and to get people over there. No, but that was great, Steve. The passion and excitement in your voice of your job really shines through. And I'm sure all the visitors who get to experience that with you leave skipping a beat and singing a few tunes as well. So, Steve, thank you so much for joining us today. Scott, thank you again for connecting Steve with the History on Q episodes. And I cannot wait to share this with our Q members and to visit all the other 18 parks on the Adventure Pass as we are moving on through season 2 of History on Q. So,
all right.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do, I normally kind of put, say goodbye and then we leave. But I think for this season, I want to end with us all just wishing every single teacher the best in the world. I think every single teacher has done amazing work prior to the pandemic, during the pandemic, and you're doing amazing work currently and always in the future. And I think anybody who helps to bring up the youth of our world is an important building block in our society. So, Steve, you showing the power of nature is an amazing education opportunity for all. So you are an educator, and I thank you for that. Scott, you help to bring teachers to parks to experience what they can bring to their students, and you teaching those adults how to create true project-based learning experiences is amazing, and it's a great opportunity. And you teachers right now who are teaching in the classroom, wondering how you can bring your students outside the classroom, please definitely go to Port's website, which you see on that screen, and you can see all the different amazing parks that you can take your students to and meet amazing interpreters like Steve at Hendy Woods. So thank you, everyone. I hope you have an amazing, amazing week, and we all hope to see you at Spring Q, March 17th to 19th in beautiful Palm Springs, California. Have yourselves a wonderful